All right, let's dive right into this. You know that heavy behind-the-eyes exhaustion you get at the end of a long day? The days where you've seemingly done nothing but stare at screens? Yeah, your brain feels foggy, your patience is razor-thin, and your nervous system, it's just humming with this low-grade, inescapable tension. Today, we're unpacking the modern epidemic of technostress. But look, we're moving way past those usual guilt trips about screen time. Instead, we're looking directly at the neuroscience of how digital environments are literally reshaping our brains. And more importantly, we're going to cover the proven biological protocols to help you reclaim your cognitive control. It's a question I think we all wrestle with. Why does constant connectivity feel so incredibly exhausting? Now, I want you to hear this loud and clear. Your screen fatigue? It's not a lack of willpower. Seriously, you aren't just failing at self-control. What you're experiencing is an engineered biological hijack. Think about it. The modern attention economy is quite literally designed to exploit the vulnerabilities of your human nervous system. We are out here fighting multi-billion-dollar algorithms with, just a tiny sliver of our prefrontal cortex? Clinically speaking, researchers actually have a name for this exact feeling. They call it technostress. It's defined as the negative emotional and physiological response. The anxiety, the irritability, that deep mental exhaustion driven by constant digital connectivity. Our nervous systems are, they're ancient. They simply weren't built to regulate against the continuous, unpredictable ping of notifications, or the social strain of what researchers call phubbing, which is when we, or our partners, prioritize a phone over a real-life human connection. It essentially creates a chronic, low-level state of threat in the body. And this systemic digital overload doesn't just stay in your head. It translates directly to physical distress. We're talking about cortisol overload that traps you in a fight-or-flight autonomic state. We see blue light severely suppressing melatonin, which just absolutely shatters your sleep architecture. Add in the ocular strain, that computer vision syndrome giving you those tension headaches, and of course, the metabolic dysregulation from being anchored to a chair all day. The bodily toll is massive. But to truly understand how to fix it, we got to look closer at the command center.
Which brings us to Section 1, Under the Hood, the Science of Brain Drain.
Let's look at the neurobiology of why we feel such profound cognitive fatigue. To grasp this, we really need to talk about the brain drain hypothesis. This is a neurocognitive framework that reveals something honestly kind of terrifying. The mere presence of your smartphone, even if it's turned off and face down on your desk, consumes your finite cognitive resources. Because your phone is so heavily linked to your social life and your daily goals, your brain flags it as a super high priority stimulus. So a portion of your brain is constantly, subconsciously, working just to inhibit the urge to check it. That background processing, it drains your working memory and literally lowers your fluid intelligence. So the crucial point here is the difference between active and passive cognition. An active brain utilizes prefrontal executive control. But when you're passively consuming, especially scrolling through endless short-form videos, EEG scans show a really significant suppression of prefrontal theta power. Now, why does that matter? Well, theta brainwaves are absolutely essential for cognitive conflict resolution and deep focus. By binging short-form content, you're actively suppressing the exact brainwaves you need to self-regulate and filter out distractions. And over time, this shifts from just a temporary state to a structural reality. Neuroimaging actually shows that heavy digital multitaskers have reduced gray matter in the anterior cingulate cortex. That's the node responsible for error monitoring and cognitive control. On top of that, continuous unpredictable dopamine loops alter the pathways in the prefrontal cortex, specifically the VMPFC and DLPFC, which govern reward processing and goal-directed attention. Basically, structurally speaking, the brain begins to mirror the exact same pathways we see in behavioral addictions. Now for Section 2, the plot twist, the withdrawal paradox. Here's where the story gets super counterintuitive. If you've ever tried to do a cold turkey digital detox and failed miserably by, say, day 2, listen up. If putting the phone down is so healthy, why does it feel so incredibly stressful at first? Look, you aren't crazy for feeling jittery. That craving is a very real, scientifically measurable biological phenomenon. Now, what's really interesting about this data is the clinical reality behind that jittery feeling. When participants in a clinical trial suddenly reduced their screen time, researchers tracked their heart rate variability, or HRV. Now, you'd expect HRV to go up as they relaxed, right? Instead, it showed a significant decline. A dropping HRV means the autonomic nervous system is in sympathetic dominance, meaning it's stressed out. The body is literally experiencing acute autonomic strain and disrupted sleep, perfectly mimicking chemical withdrawal. Your body is basically panicking because it lost its primary dopamine delivery device. 10, that's the magic number here.
In a landmark 3-week study where participants pushed through that initial withdrawal and halved their daily screen time, their visual sustained attention improved so drastically that it reversed the equivalent of 10 years of age-related cognitive decline. Let that sink in for a second. Just 3 weeks of setting boundaries, and they effectively bought back a decade of brain youth. Incredible, right?
This leads us right into Section 3, Engineering Digital Minimalism. So how do we actually do this? How do we pull this off without just white-knuckling our way through a miserable, restrictive tech diet? Well, we need to move away from guilt-driven punishment and step into a premium, sustainable framework for cognitive recovery. Coined by computer scientist Cal Newport, digital minimalism isn't about, throwing your phone in the ocean and moving off-grid. It's simply the philosophy of dedicating your online time to a limited number of carefully chosen activities that strictly align with your highest values, and then happily missing out on everything else. It's an intentional, highly curated lifestyle. Let's see how this builds into a sustainable, actionable protocol. Step 1 is establishing tech-free zones. For example, protect your sleep by charging that phone outside the bedroom. Step 2 is a 30-day digital declutter, where you strip away all optional technology. Step 3, and this is where the magic happens, you systematically reintroduce only the tools that add tangible value to your life. And Step 4, crucially, is substituting that empty screen time with high-quality face-to-face offline hobbies. You can't just leave a void, you really have to fill it with something better. And to make this sustainable, you shouldn't just rely on willpower. Willpower fatigues. Instead, you need to rely on environmental design by adding intentional friction. Switch your phone to grayscale mode to kill those bright visual dopamine triggers. Use physical NFC locks, where you actually have to tap a physical object to access a specific distracting app. Or just embrace the luxury of single-purpose devices. Read on an e-reader that only reads. Write on a device that only writes. Listen to music on a dedicated player. Make the good behavior easy and the distracted behavior incredibly annoying to execute.
Moving on to our final section, Section 4, the architecture of JOMO.
When you implement these physical barriers, something truly beautiful happens to your psychology. Look, we've all heard of FOMO, the fear of missing out, that anxious, lingering dread that everyone else is having more fun or more success than you. But JOMO, that's the joy of missing out. It is a profound emotional pivot. It's an intentional lifestyle choice where you reframe missing out on all that digital noise, not as some kind of deprivation, but as a hard-won opportunity, an opportunity to reclaim your time, your focus, and your presence in the physical world. It really is the bedrock of emotional resilience.
A recent systematic review on the psychology of digital wellness put it perfectly, stating, "Digital detox practices can significantly promote eudaimonic well-being by providing cognitive and emotional benefits, emphasizing the importance of purposeful living." Notice that word right there, eudaimonic. It means human flourishing. It means realizing your true potential and cultivating a deep, authentic purpose. And that is fundamentally impossible when your attention is constantly being auctioned off to the highest bidder.
So, I'll leave you with this one thought. We live in an ecosystem that has been meticulously engineered to harvest your attention fraction by fraction, day by day. It is quite literally the currency of the modern world. But knowing the neurobiology, understanding the withdrawal, and utilizing the tools of intentional friction gives you the power to opt out. In a world engineered to harvest your attention, what will you achieve when you finally take it back?